shadow in the government's game. Born as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place I could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in their hand, till she put me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. And I cut mine a witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. Of my fast scratching through the wall. My eyes changed colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I am never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. Settle that dead in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hard. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read it all in the blink of an eye. Then I cut my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face. I'm coming for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, this is Henry again, part 5. In part 4 there at the end, we had left that old house in the middle of the night. Seen that man floating there above the steps, and when he shot through that wall, my dad grabbed me and hollered for the dogs, and out the door and off the porch, out to the gate and into the truck, and away we went. Well, we drove to town. It was probably about 4 miles. In this little town near where I lived, I won't name the town because don't need to be nobody know about that anyway. We got there, and the only thing that was open then was a old gas station down at the bottom of this here hill about the center of town. We pulled in there at the old gas station, and the guy in there, we'll call him Chuck. Old Chuck come out, and Dad said, fill her up. While he was filling her up, we walked inside the gas station, and his wife was sitting there. She was behind the counter. She run the cash register and making him run the pumps. She goes, what are you boys doing tonight? Henry, come on around here. Let's see how big you're getting. I said, so, what's up? There was a man sitting on the stairs wanting to talk to Dad, and Dad threw knives at him. He didn't flinch, and all of a sudden the guy got up, just kind of floated up right through the wall. We headed to town. Never seen a man do that before. She looks at me and she goes, "You tell a hell of a story." My dad goes, "Nope. He's telling the truth." She goes, "You kidding me?" And he goes, "No." He said, "Damnedest thing I ever seen." He said, "My wife left because of the house, and I didn't believe her." But he said, after seeing that man float through the wall, she wasn't lying. She goes, "Well, where y'all staying tonight?" That's, "Well, gonna go to a friend's house and see if they'll put us up for the night." She goes, "Well, you go ahead and go check, and we'll be open until 1. You can't find nobody, then come back and let us know, and we don't have much, but you can come to our house." Dad thanked her, and Chuck come in and told her the amount. Dad handed her the cash, and I got a soda. Dad got him a pack of cigarettes. He asked Chuck, he said, "You ain't got a beer, do you?" Chuck was, "Well, ain't nobody supposed to know about that." He said, his wife said, "Just get him one. He's had a hell of a night." He said, "Well, I got the bottle. I don't have no can." That's at this point, I wouldn't give a shit what it was in. I'd drink it out of an oil can if he got it. So he twisted the bottle off of that, twisted the lid off, and passed it to my dad. And my dad chewed that thing right on down. I mean, he just chucked it down just like it was water. Tossed the empty bottle in the trash can there, and Chuck goes, "Damn, that must have really spooked you." So his wife and Dad was telling him about it, and that's why I better get going, because I got to see if I can get lodging for me and the boy tonight. The dogs are in the vehicle. Guy said, "Well, the offer still stands, my wife told you. Can't find anything, just come back to the gas station, and we'll give you the key, and you can just go on out the house and unlock everything, turn the lights on, and we'll be there when we get done locking up the gas station." Dad said, "Thanks for the offer, and I'll go check, and if not, I'll be back. 'Cause I damn sure ain't going back to that house tonight after seeing that shit." The guy kind of laughed, and we pulled out of there onto the highway and went up about 2 blocks and made a turn to the right. Headed down to a guy's house, his parents' house, and later on the son would end up being an uncle, and then an uncle removed, but I still called him an uncle, even though later on him and my aunt got married and then they got divorced. He was always good to me. So we headed down there to his place, and his mom and dad place, and they lived in a kind of a small house. It was a small but 2-story. It was weird, because this guy's dad had bought 4 lots. And there was a barn on one corner. The house was on the corner away from the barn. And then the other was garden and fenced-in lot. Now this, I gotta remember, this is back early 70s, so you could do things that you can't do now. Well, around this barn, this old man, and I'll tell you about him in a minute, he had a fence, hot wire, and he always had 4 or 5 hogs in there. And again, that was a long time ago, so you couldn't get by with that nowadays. And even though his neighbors probably bitched, he didn't give a rat's ass. Nobody ever messed with that old man, because he put the hurt on you. He was good to me. So we pulled in there, and the back light come on, and Walked up, knocked on the door, and I'm going to call this old man Homer. Old Homer come to the door, and no shirt, no socks, just his pants pulled up, and the fly was zipped, but the button was open, and his belly was hanging over top of it, so he had his little welding-looking hat on, had a little short brim. He must have been asleep with a chair, because him and the bulldog always slept in the chair together. He had this English bulldog. That thing was so goddamn ugly that he was cute. He probably about a 75-pound English bulldog. And he kind of looked like old Homer. So anyway, the bulldog come up there and he looked and he raised one front leg and, ooh, ooh. Homer said, shut up, you son of a bitch, I'll kick you. He goes, well, what the hell's up, guys? He says, me and the bulldog fell asleep on the couch there, or the chair. And he said, heard a vehicle pull in, thought it was the sun. Dad goes, you know where Tom's at? He goes, was his truck out there? Yeah. He goes, well, hell, he probably upstairs passed out. He probably been at the bar drinking and got drunk and passed out upstairs. He said, I ain't too far behind him. So it wasn't long, and old Homer's wife got up. What the hell's going on? Dad told him what happened and said, we need a place to stay for tonight, because I ain't going back to that house after I seen that shit. I need kind of time to think for a little bit. His wife said, well, no problem. You don't mind sleeping in a small bed. It might be kind of lumpy, but it's a bed. There's 2 twin beds upstairs. Same room. So you get top stairs, turn your left, and it's Tom's room. He's probably up there passed out. You know, him and his dad both drink like fish, and I go to church. So we thanked her, and she goes, breakfast to be ready whenever you guys get up. Don't big hurry. No set time. I get up about 5, but I always put breakfast in the oven because I never know what time Tom's going to come down or Homer's going to roll in here, because never know which one I've been drinking the most. And of course I have to fix a plate for the damn bulldog. He's like those two. He just get up whenever. So we thanked her and headed up the stairs. Took our dogs upstairs and shut the door, and Tom looked up, eyes kind of squinted, and he smelled like about 2 or 3 12-packs, but he was a good guy. Dad goes, Tom, talk to your mom and dad, and we need a place to stay, and he would tell Tom about it. And Tom said, no shit. He said, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow about it. Right now, you know, kind of a little drunk. I'd probably forget by morning. So I walked over to the side of the bed, and Dad pulled the covers back, and I climbed into bed, and he turned the light off, and then he climbed into bed, and the 2 dogs went underneath the bed, got going to sleep there, and I felt real comfortable. Had 2 dogs under the bed, and this guy named Tom in the bed over just about 3 foot away from us. My dad there in bed with me. I felt like all the comfort in the world. Don't have to worry about nothing bothering me. I went to sleep. Felt real safe. Seemed like time just flew. Well, come morning, and we all 3 woke up about the same time the 2 dogs under the bed woke up. And we was all stretching and yawning. Or even the dogs are stretching and yawning. So we got up and headed down the stairs, and whether you went down the stairs, the more you could smell the scent of bacon and eggs. So we got downstairs and opened the door and made the corner around to the kitchen, and there's that big fat Homer He had a green-looking shirt with the sleeves cut out of it, or ripped out of it, I should say, and didn't have it buttoned except for the last 3 buttons down there by his belly button, because his belly was hanging up over top of it. Looked like a beached whale. And there he sat on the floor beside his chair. There sat that fat bulldog on his. He was sitting flat on his butt. The more I looked at that bulldog, that old English bulldog, and I looked at him, and I looked at the English bulldog and looked at him, they looked like they could have been twins. Just one must have got a bigger tit than the other one, because Homer was a lot bigger. But if that bulldog was the same height as him, they'd both be about the same amount of fat. So he's supposed to pull up a chair, there's coffee right there on the counter. The wife went in to get her shower. Food's good and hot, though. There's toast right there, too. Make yourself at home. We all grabbed a plate and headed over to the stove and dipped out of this skillet for the bacon, dipped out the other skillet for the eggs. They had a toaster like I'd never seen. Our toaster just holds 2 pieces of bread. They had a toaster. That son of a bitch holds 6 pieces of bread. Weirdest damn thing I'd ever seen. We got our toast and went back to sit down. And Homer had about 8 eggs on his plate. He'd eat 1 egg, and then he'd grab his fork and flip the other egg in the floor, toward the floor, and the bulldog would catch it before it hit the floor. Now, you got to understand something about this crazy setup. Homer had 2 bottom teeth stick up like this here. That's all the teeth he had. Well, when you look at that bulldog, he had that bottom lip poked up, and them 2 teeth hanging too look like a wild boar. I'd look at that, laugh. They did look alike. Had them big old jowls, them 2 teeth. Homer be sitting there smacking his lips. The dog was down there smacking his lips. Every so often, that bulldog would eat his egg a little faster. He'd reach over and pinch Homer on the leg and want him to throw him another egg. Homer would kick him with his foot. Just wait a minute, you son of a bitch. You eat too fast. You swallowing yours. I'm chewing mine. I sit there watching them laughing and eating. Dad goes, Homer, you do me a favor? He goes, well, if I can, as long as it don't involve running. What is it? He goes, would you watch little Henry there for a few hours? He goes, yeah. So he leaned over at me and he goes, hey. I said, yeah. I was watching him and that bulldog. He goes, your plumbing don't leak, do it? What? You potty trained? Hell yeah, I'm potty trained. Okay, that's all I need to know. He said, yeah, big, okay. He said, now just long as you know that I got a pig I'm going to kill today for butcher. He said, damn bulldog and old Tom there and the old lady, they eat more goddamn bacon and ham than I could shake a stick at. And he said, I got to kill their damn hog. That's a bother me none. He said, well, as long as you know. He goes, sight of blood don't bother you, does it, boy? No. So, after we got done eating, Dad said, I'll be back in a little bit. I'm going to go get your grandpa and a couple guys and go down there and get your horse, and I'll find a place to take it for a few days. Okay. He said, I'll take care of the livestock, and I'll be back this evening. I said, okay. So, him and Tom leave, and I'm sitting there with Homer, and here come his wife out of the bathroom. She was a big, tall lady. She's about as big as him. Jet black hair. She had it all pulled up into like a ponytail type thing hanging down. Homer's sitting there, and he goes, "Well, I guess we got Henry's Day." She goes, "Well, that's fine by me. He's pretty quiet." He goes, "Henry, you ain't scared of the sound of a gun, are you?" I was like, "No." He said, "I'm going to take you out there." And he said, "I got to shoot that hog." And he said, "That's what you have to do so we can make some bacon and ham and pork sausage." I understand. So his wife said, "Well, if not, I'll be in the house doing dishes and cleaning. If it bothers him, you can just bring him in here and finish up out there." But I wanted to go with Homer. So Homer said, "Come on, let's go out to the barn." And they lived right here in town. I mean, right in the town. Homer goes out the door, and as he's going out the door, he grabs a 30-30 lever action. I noticed he grabbed this big belt thing. Had another gun stuck in it. And as he's walking, he's trying to pull his big belly up and put this old Western holster on. He's checking the 30-30 to make sure it's loaded. We got there to the barn. He sets the 30-30 down on top of an old whiskey barrel. He goes, "I got him sorted," and he said, "That son of a bitch right there has been a pain in my ass, and that's the one I'm going to take today." So I'm sitting there watching him, and he goes, "Hog, you caused me a lot of anguish. Always getting out, going tearing up the neighbor's yard, and I gotta go fix the damn yard. You son of a bitch, today's your day." Homer shuts both ends of the barn up, and opens up two gates, and that hog comes out, and he's caught between these two gates. And I'm sitting there watching Homer, and Homer goes, "You might want to turn your head." I said, "No, it's okay." He pulled up with that 30-30 and shot that hog in the head, right on the forehead. Dude, that hog went nuts. He broke the gate, chased Homer up to the house. Homer run in the house, and I was sitting there in this little room watching. I come out of that room, and I see the Homer running, the bulldog running after the hog, and the hog is a grunting, blood going everywhere, and that bulldog just chewing the shit out of his legs. Homer running in the house. The hog hit the blacktop, went up the block, cut over a block, and was coming back. And for whatever reason, that hog made a turn to head in that barn, and I was standing in the breezeway. I was like, shit. He made the corner to come around to come in there. I rushed over there and grabbed that handgun. I had a hell of a time cocking that thing back. Now, this hog's running. And I cocked this gun back, and I pulled the trigger. That hog hit the side of the barn and broke into the other side of the barn. I fell on my ass in the mud and the pig shit. Slid about 3 foot. I got up and dusted myself off, and that hog's in there squealing, so... Like, god damn, what was he shooting in that gun? I thought it was a 22, like my grandpa had. So I walked over that hog that, pulled the hammer back, and pulled the trigger again. And the gun went straight in the air, and I flew up against the barn, knocked the wind out of myself, fell to the ground. Got up and dusted off, and here come Homer and the bulldog. He goes, "God damn," he said, "that son of a bitch ain't got hardly any head left after you got... What the hell did you shoot him with?" That's the only I had was this pistol laying here that somebody's come after me, so I shot him. Homer said, well, guess we won't be making no head cheese. I said, well, fuck the head cheese. The thing was after me. Even you was the one that shot him. He should have been after you, not me. I didn't do it. Homer just laughed. He said, well, if you want to, you can either sit here and watch me, or he said, you can go up to the house. He said, the wife's in the house. I said, I'll sit here and watch you. And I'll be some bitch. Here come about 7 neighbors. Here come 2 cops. Homer's sitting there like, well, here we go. The neighbors were bitching, and the cop was trying to get between him and the neighbors. And finally the cop said, enough of this bullshit. What happened? We got to call it you shot a hog. Said, it sounded like a war over there. Homer goes, well, that ain't the truth. I shot the hog. It come through the gate after me, chased me to the house. It and the bulldog went on around the block, come around by the barn, started to come into the breezeway, and he said, I forgot about Henry being out there. And he said, I forgot about my 45 laying out there. And he said, Henry picked up that 45, and he shot the son of a bitch, too. He said, knocked his ass off into the pig shit and the mud. That's why he's all shitty and stinky. Said that hog was over there kicking and screaming, so he walked over there and shot him again. He busted his ass again in the mud and the pig shit. That's what happened. You discharged a gun in city limits. Homer said, take your goddamn law and shut up. If somebody was after you, if you being a cop, wouldn't you shoot at them too? Well, the cop was a little scared of Homer, and he agreed, but he said, no more of this shit. Homer, after a few choice words, cop got in his car, and the neighbors went home. And of course, Homer popped a beer and flipped him the bird. We was sitting there, and Homer went and got the old tractor and proceeded to hang that sumbitch up in the barn rafter. He tore into that hog and skinning him, and I'm sitting there taking this all in. After he got done skinning that hog and taking the remains out, he cut off a big slab of meat, and he goes, here, kick that bulldog in the ass he gets too close to you. He said, but take this into the old lady, and that's going to be her dinner. He said, that and a couple cans of beer. It's okay. So I was carrying it, and the bulldog followed me in the house and got it in there, and Homer's wife cut off a big chunk. She hollered at that bulldog, and the old bulldog set his fat ass on the floor, and she tossed a chunk to him. The bulldog hauled ass in there under Homer's chair to sit down and eat. We sitting there talking, and she cooked up that piece of meat. It was smelling pretty good. Later on, Homer come in, wobbling in, and the bulldog run to the door barking at him, and Homer gave him a few choice words and threatened to kick him in the ass. He didn't get back. Him and that bulldog would fight like cat and dog. So Homer comes in and takes his hat off and puts it on the back of his chair, and he said, Mom, is she about ready? She goes, that'll be a few more minutes, so shut up and sit down. Homer goes into the bathroom washing his hands, and he's in there using a few choice words to his wife. He gets done, he wiped his hands off on a towel that kept hanging on the rack. He come in and got in the refrigerator, and all you could see was his ass sticking out of the refrigerator. Heard tinking and tonking going on, and he came out with a bottle of beer, and so there watched him, and he grabbed a bowl. He poured a little bit in the bowl and put it down there, and the dog was drinking some, and he was finishing the bottle, and he told that dog, he said, one of us got to quit drinking so much, because I'm running out of beer. You ain't seeming to pay for no damn beer, so you be the one going to have to cut down your drinking habits. That dog just kind of looked at him and kept lapping up that beer. A few minutes, the lady cut up the meat, put it on the table, and we had fried taters and green beans, corn, And whatever type of meat that was, it was hog meat, but I ain't sure what it was. But I cut in little chunks. It was good though, we ate it. Got done eating, and Homer goes outside, and Bulldog goes behind him, and I'm following them. We're sitting out there on the front porch, on the porch swing, and Bulldog's underneath the porch swing, snoring every so often. Homer would nudge him with his foot. Shut up, you're snoring too loud, scaring the neighbors. So I started getting tired. I fell asleep. Next thing I know, it's 10 o'clock at night. So I found myself upstairs in bed again. So next morning got up and ventured downstairs, and there was Homer and the Bulldog arguing. His wife was standing there cooking, and we come down the stairs and into the kitchen. Take a seat, boys, take a seat. We all piled around the table and ate until we was bloated. Dad said, I got a bunch of guys gonna go help me, and we're gonna get some stuff from the house. You mind if we stay here for a few days? Oh, hell no, you stay as long as you want. So I was gonna stay with Homer, and Dad said, no, you go with me. So I got in the truck with Tom and Dad and went up to the old square, and there was a bunch of guys up there that was gonna follow us out, and they was all curious. I don't know why they hadn't been at the farm before, but they was all gang ready to go, gung-ho. Till we got down there and pulled in the driveway. Had to go down that long driveway to the house, and we stopped, and you could see the yellow coming out in them. They all was brave as long as they was together, but they decided that all of them at one time was going to go in and grab stuff and get the hell out of there. And Dad said, what do you guys know about this house, this property? They're like, only stories. Now, these boys was raised up around that area. They knew something, but they wasn't going to tell. Dad said, no, what's the story about this place? It's just a place that nobody wants to be. What's the history behind it? Somebody get killed or what? Don't know. They really don't want to talk about it. They was curious to see the inside of that house. They'd heard stories, so we all walk up on the porch and go in, and Dad said, well, I'll go in here and grab stuff. You go here and grab stuff. You go there, and it's like, no, we'll all stick together. They obviously knew something that we didn't know. But they wasn't going to tell. So everybody went in this room, grabbed some clothes, and go in this room, grab some stuff, and go into the bathroom, grab some stuff, and then everybody went through the kitchen and out onto the porch and out to the vehicle. Dad opened the cooler and gets everybody a beer, and he goes, what's the story? What you guys been hearing? It's a place nobody wants to live. That's why you got it so cheap. Well, what's behind it? What kind of stories you hearing? Oh, just it's a bad place. Nobody wants to come here. We just wanted to see the inside of the house. Because we'd heard stories. Dad said, what kind of stories? Well, we don't want to talk about it. So after a few beers, a couple of them starts opening up. The house was haunted, so wasn't the property. But there was also something else going on. And Dad found out later on from these guys that things we was calling werewolves really were there. So Dad asked them about the big cat that used to go up and lay on the porch. And they was like, yeah, but they ain't no big cat. That's a spirit. That's kind of weird. And they said, we don't want to talk about it no more. So we left and went back to Homer's, and we was there probably about a month. Anyway, it come to time we was supposed to move out of there and go someplace else and stay. Decided to run down to the holler where my mom was living with my grandma and her sisters. So we drive down there, and Dad's telling Mom that we're going to go back out to the farm again and see if we can stay maybe a little bit. That we thought things were clean, we'd have her call and tell her. She didn't much care for the idea, but she was getting tired of living there. So we ventured back down the highway and got to the gravel road, turned off, and come to that long-ass driveway, and we sat there for a good 30 minutes. Dad was trying to get up his nerve. While we were sitting there in the driveway, this black car, old-time Cadillac, come bopping down the road real slow. So we sitting there looking back at the farm. Dad was keeping an eye on that big Cadillac, fancy black Cadillac. It pulled, but it didn't pull in the driveway. It stopped right there where you would turn in the driveway and just sits there. Dad gets out and tells me to sit there in the vehicle and with the two dogs. I'm sitting there, and he starts to walk toward that car, and all of a sudden that car takes off. That's why I guess they didn't want anything. So we drive back to the house. We're getting out real slow. We ain't no big hurry to go in. We walk through the gate carrying some stuff, and dogs come following. Just by the time we stepped to foot on the porch, the front screen door opened, and the inside door opened by itself. That's, well, I guess the son of a bitch ain't never left. So we go in, and nothing's been touched since we left. Dad's walking around the kitchen, and I'm standing there, and he picks me up and puts me in a big chair and there at the table, and he goes, just sit there. He goes, I don't know who in the fuck you are in here. Don't really care. This is my damn house, my damn farm. You can live here. Don't cause us no problem. He was trying to show some authority, but I could tell he was scared as shit. So, next few nights was pretty quiet. On that fourth night, laying there watching TV on the big couch. I was at one end there by his stinky feet. Dogs were laying down there beside the couch on the hardwood floor on a rug. We sitting there, he's watching the news, dozing off. He said that he was just having a few winks. Winks my ass, he was sleeping while he's watching the news. I'm sitting there playing with my toys. I noticed the fireplace. It lit up, which was unusual because normally Dad would stick paper in there and them logs and light it. Start a fire. That night, something started by itself. I woke Dad up. He's like, yeah, what? I said, we're starting to get chilly in here. And I said, that fireplace started up by itself. He looked over there and he looked at me and he goes, let me see your hands. I put my hands up. He looked and he put my hands over and looked on top. He goes, how did you start that fire? He said, if you'd use newspaper, which is over there, you'd have that black ink on your hands. Told you not to be playing with damn matches. I said, I didn't do it. It started by itself. He mumbled a little bit, and it started warming up in the house. So He said, I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer and watch TV. You're going to watch Johnny Carson. And yeah, you're going to sit there and doze. So I'm sitting there playing, and he dozes off. Sounded like somebody rolled a bowling ball upstairs. And it hit each step it coming down them stairs. But it didn't pick up speed. It was just a steady thump, 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 thump. It hit that floor in the kitchen, hit the table, rolled on across the floor, and hit the sink, the cabinet there by the sink. My dad could sleep through the house turning over. He wouldn't have heard nothing. I got scared and I woke him up. The dogs, they was raising hell, but they wasn't leaving from that couch. My dad got up, walked in there, and kitchen tables knocked over, chairs knocked over. There ain't no damn bowling ball. He said, what'd I tell you about lying? I said, I wasn't lying. And all of a sudden, here comes, sound like another bowling ball coming down them steps. We slipped in there to the living room, and something hit the table and chairs again, scattered them even further. Dad was mad. So he kicked the chairs out of the way and walked in there and looked up them dark stairs, and he goes, you son of a bitch, I told you earlier, this is my house, my farm. Knock the bullshit off. You want to fight? Come on. Like, I don't think he should have done that. It got quiet. He started picking up the table and picked up the chairs, and he makes him a pot of coffee. I guess he already had enough beer, so made him a pot of coffee and lit him a cigarette sitting there, kitchen table. He goes, well, seems like it's going to be pretty quiet from now on. Maybe that done the trick. I said, I don't know, Mama tried that before and it didn't do nothing. It just quieted down for a little bit. My dad gets up, goes to the old percolator there on the counter and pour him a cup of coffee, and next thing you know, the table goes up in the air. All the chairs, including the chair I'm sitting in, lifts up off the ground. When he turns around, they're about his head height. And I'm sitting in that chair hanging on for dear life, wondering if it's going to fall. My dad threw his coffee into the sink, set his coffee cup down, and made a jump over there and grabbed me out of that chair. And that time he grabbed a hold of me, every one of the chairs come down, the table come down like a slam. Man, he was mad. He stood me over there by the sink. He goes, you stay right there and don't move. He goes, I thought I told you, son of bitches. This shit's got to stop. He no more got that out of his mouth, and every one of the damn windows open and slam shut, open, slam shut. Somebody didn't bust them damn windows. Every door inside the house started opening and slamming, opening and slamming. My dad must have went temporarily insane. There he is, standing there yelling, and this thing just keeps acting up. My dad used a few colorful words, and all of a sudden it calmed down again. He's going to let this be an end to this shit. So we go back in the living room, sitting there, and he's smoking a cigarette, flipping the ashes in an ashtray. He goes, no matter what, if you gotta go to the bathroom or something, you let me know. Don't get up and wander in another room. I agreed. So I'm sitting there and he's smoking a cigarette. All of a sudden, there was the house had been raised up and slammed down, a big boom, and everything was shaking and rattling, and Dad thought it was a damn hurricane hit. Nope, sounded like an earthquake. But Wasn't no earthquake. So Dad grabbed me and run out on the porch, but nothing outside was moving. It was just inside that house. That's the only place you could hear it. Because it was still going on inside the house when we run out. But the ground outside wasn't moving or nothing. It was inside that house. So we took the dogs and went out to the gate, got in the pickup, and was sitting in the pickup, watching the house from outside. All of a sudden, the whole inside of that house turned orange, looking like it was on fire. Dad was like, shit, you stay here. He run up there and opened the screen door and opened the inside door, run in the kitchen and stopped, looking around. I was watching, and all of a sudden that orange went out and it's back to normal light again. Dad come back out there and he goes, "Did you see that shit?" I said, "Yeah, it went from being orange like flames in there to nothing." He goes, "Yeah, but it smells like it's burning in there." So he calls the fire department and they come out and they didn't find nothing. Of course, by the time they got there, they didn't smell any smoke either. So we decided we better go to Homer's and spend the night, just in case it was some kind of a oddball fire from electricity or something. Well, we go into Homer's and knock on the door, and same thing, light come on, and they come to the door and told us we go upstairs and go to sleep. This time, though, we got upstairs, go to sleep, and Tom was sitting there, and he goes, "Problems?" Dad goes, "Yeah, that damn house." He goes, "I tried to tell you boys don't go back there." Dad goes, "What the hell does everybody know that we don't? How come nobody won't say nothing?" Tom goes, "Nobody wants to talk about that place. Bad juju. Some people go there and try to live there and they just gone." That's what you mean, just gone. He goes, "Never seen, never heard from again." Dad goes, "Well, fuck that." So we spent a couple of days there and go down to the holler where my mom's at. And he lies to my mom, and of course, she bought it. She come back to the house, not to the farmhouse to live. We loaded all of her shit up in the truck and took it out there, and things were pretty calm for about 2 weeks. Dad decided, I guess, he'd been sober enough for long enough, and he decided to take off for a couple of weeks, and who the hell knows where he went. He left. One morning we got up, he wasn't nowhere to be seen. I was in there cooking dinner, and I was playing there in the kitchen floor, me and the dog. Decided to go out on the porch for a few minutes. Started to go outside, and here come these big black cars, like the one we had seen sitting in the driveway that day. Head of it was a county cop, city cop. Knew both of them. And there was these guys dressed in suits. My mom walked off the porch, and these guys and these cops come through the gate, and we met them about halfway. Mom goes, "What's the problem?" The only thing she could think of was maybe Dad was in a wreck and got killed. They said, "Nothing like that. We're here to take the farm." "Take the farm? What the fuck are you talking about, take the farm?" "Here's the papers, ma'am." Now, we recognized the cops, but we didn't recognize these suits. Now, these guys were dressed in Three-piece black suit, white shirt, black tie, black glasses, hats. Like a pork pie hat, kind of. So, Mom said, what are they here for? They said, well, ma'am, we're here to take over the farm. She said, well, I got a kid. Yeah, at least give me 90 days. No, ma'am. You're to be out here now. Mom said, well, how the hell am I supposed to get all my stuff and get the hell out of here? I gotta have time. They said, no. You get one change of clothes. The clothes you got on. And your personal jewelry. That's it. As for him, the clothes he's got on, one change of clothes, couple of toys. That's it. Mom looked at the cop, and the cop goes, that's the way it is. Mom said, bullshit. And he said, you heard us. And the cop said, I wouldn't argue with it. Just, it's all legal and binding. Just do as they say. Just go peacefully. So we go in, and Mom starts bawling, and she's getting a change of clothes and picking me up a couple of toys and putting them in a satchel-looking deal. Walk out on the porch, and these son bitches tell the cop that they want to check that duffel bag. Cops, there ain't no need. She's honest. They said, but we want to see what's in there, make sure she didn't take nothing else. That cop said, I'm telling you right now, it's bad enough she has to leave on a moment's notice. I'll vouch for her. I don't like her husband, but I'll vouch for her. She's from here. So we start to walk out to the truck. Those guys step in front of us. What do you think you're doing? I'm going to leaving the truck or the car? No. Start walking. What do you mean fucking walk? You heard us. Mom looked at the cop, and the cop goes, that's the way it is. I said, well, you work for us. Can you at least give us a ride to town? Cop goes, strict orders, I can't. So we start walking down the driveway. And they're following behind us in the vehicle like we're some kind of savages. We have to walk all the way down this driveway out to the gravel road. We get down there to the end of the driveway, and there's more of these fucking black Cadillacs. The guy with these fucking mirrored glasses on, goddamn pork pie hats, three-piece suits. And that's embarrassing as hell. And we start to stop, and the guy that's right behind us in the car, him and his buddies, holler out the window, just keep on moving. Get off of this property. So we stepped out onto the gravel road and start walking. Meantime, one of the neighbors comes up the road, and she's on her way to town. And she goes, this is a bunch of shit. What's going on? And I said, I don't know. They just come with papers and said we had to leave. Where's your belongings? Mom said, this is all we get. She said, well, throw your stuff in the car and I'll take you wherever you want to go. So we threw our stuff in the car, and of course my mom's upset. And this lady's trying to calm her down, and she said, okay. She said, where am I taking you to? Your mom and dad's house? And she said, no. We have to go to his mom and dad's house. Where in the hell's he at? Mom said, who knows? So she took us down there, and Grandma and Grandpa opened the door, and they was glad to see us. They told us, come on in. They got an extra bedroom, and make yourself a home. So we moved in there. I still hadn't caught on what was going to be happening, and you'll find out about that later. All of this plays a part into the things it's leading into. Beginning to wonder how much of it was rigged to put things in the chain of events that come along later. So we move in, and of course my grandma and grandpa, they was spoiling the hell out of me. Well, after a few days staying there, one day there was a knock on the door. My grandpa, he was asleep in the chair over there. Mom was in the bathroom, and Grandma, she was back in her bedroom making the bed. And so I opened the door. I thought, man, opened the door. And there was this guy in a three-piece suit. Looked like he was probably about 5'8". He leans down and got kind of peanut butter colored hair. Looked like a real city slicker. He leans down and he's making faces at me through the door and trying to wave and shit. And I opened the door and I said, help you? He goes, your mom here? Yeah. Hold on, I'll go get her. Grandpa said, who's at the door? I said, I don't know. Well, didn't you get his name? I was like, no, he didn't give it. He just wanted to talk to my mom. So my grandpa gets up and goes to the door, and I go in and get Mom. Had no clue who this guy was, but obviously my mom knew him and he knew her. When I come back, he sat there and looked at me and he goes, you sure are growing, Henry. That's how you know my name. He goes, I was the one that brought you to your parents. No, you wasn't. How'd you know my name? He goes, you've been a pet project. I didn't know what a pet project was. But I know I didn't like this son of a bitch. So my mom told my grandpa, said, I'll talk to him for a minute out on the porch, keep Henry in the house. I could hear a little bit, and he was asking if I'd started showing any signs. My mom goes, not that I know of. Well, he should be showing signs, or should have started showing some kind of signs. Mom goes, well, there was a few times that things was moving, but I don't know if it was him or the house we was living in. The guy said, well, here's my card. And keep me informed. If we find out you're lying, it's going to be bad trouble. My grandpa come out there and he goes, you need to get the fuck off my porch or there's going to be trouble. My grandma come out there and she goes, now. Get your ass back in the house and leave this gentleman alone. Well, that right there should have been a sign to me, but being a kid, I didn't know. My mom and my grandma was kind of protecting this peanut butter-headed looking bastard. Later on, he beat a jackrabbit that showed up several times in my life and put a real thorn up my ass. But for the time being, I didn't know him, but I still didn't like the son of a bitch. So he left, and my grandpa told my mom she should stay away from assholes like that. My mom said, well, you don't know the deal. He goes, maybe not, but I still wouldn't have a deal with a son of a bitch like that. So, anyway, quite a few weeks passed. My dad finally showed up. Him and my grandpa went to look at another place, and I was trying to tell Dad about this peanut butter headed looking guy that come to the door in a three-piece suit. Looked like a real dick skinner. My dad said, you keep an eye out for that one. He's trouble. Must have been somebody my dad knew too. I didn't like him. So they look at this place, and my dad gets the wild hair and takes off again. And my grandpa took my mom down and me and showed me the new place. And it was just a small lot in the edge of a village along the highway. And it was just a lot with a trailer on it. The trailer was pretty decent. Seemed like a nice little community. Mom goes, I ain't got the money for that. He goes, $1. Mom said, I ain't even got $1. So my grandpa reached in his pocket and pulled out 4 quarters, and he handed it to my mom, and he goes, now hand it back to me. Tears run down her face. She handed it back to him, and he handed her the title to the trailer and the deed to the property and said, here, sign your name right here. Don't put my son's name on it, because he ain't worth a pot of lead to blow his ass off. My grandpa said, I'll go have these filed tomorrow. So we moved into the trailer, and things from then on really took a frickin' twist. But we'll get into that in part 6, because that's where things really start taking off big time. Thank you. This is Henry signing out, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Give me a shout out, and I'll see you in part 6. Thank you.